Good morning and welcome to Second Unitarian Church. I am Barb Michael, a member of the Board of Trustees, and my pronouns are she, her. Today we are in person at the Admiral at the Lake and the 2U Loft right here, and continuing to meet virtually using Zoom. We ask everyone's indulgence for the complications of a three-part service. We're glad you are here whichever way you are attending. If you are in the loft and would benefit from hearing assistance, we have devices available. Please see Joey in the back. In accordance with public health guidelines, we have moved to making masks optional in the sanctuary. We will continue to pay attention to COVID numbers, and masking may become required again in order to keep everyone as safe as possible. We especially welcome newcomers and visitors this morning. Finding a new community and making new connections can be challenging. Please know that we're excited to have you and look forward to getting to know you. If you're new to us today, please note that in the Zoom chat or mention it in person during conversation after the service. If you would like, there are blue mugs downstairs that you can use to signal to others that you would like them to come up and say hello. If you see someone with a blue mug, everyone, please be sure to say hi. Our worship today is led by Reverend Jason Leiden, along with Mary Helen Steinler as worship associate. Music is provided by Patty Kennedy and our director of music, Carl Kennedy. Our time together requires a large group of people, who make possible the worship, the music, and the technical production. They are listed in the order of service, and we thank them for their ongoing service to our congregation. I have a couple of announcements for you this morning. On Saturday, July 15th, we will have a movie viewing with the minister. Families with children and youth are invited to a matinee at Regal City North Theater, which is 2600 Northwestern Avenue, and we'll be watching the movie Elemental while enjoying an opportunity for fun and fellowship with Reverend Jason during the summer months. So please reach out to Carla Tebby if you are interested. I don't see Carla here yet this morning, but she may be here later, or you can reach out to her via email or phone. This Sunday, Kay Watson, our Director of Administration, is with us for worship and coffee hour. During coffee hour, you can ask Kay about any questions you may have about things going on at church, particularly questions about Breeze and other admin type things. Kay works 2 Sundays per month and hopes to get more connected with members of the congregation on these Sundays. I welcome Mary Helen to lead us in our call to worship.
We are a Unitarian Universalist congregation, a community of children, youth, and adults, a people of many beliefs and traditions bound not by the specific list of things we believe, but by the values we share. Whether you are joining us for the first time or for the 1000th time, you're welcome here. Whether you believe in God some of the time, all of the time, or none of the time, you're welcome here. Whatever your race, whomever you love, whichever way you move in the world, however much money is in your pocket, you are welcome here. I invite you, when you feel ready, to take a breath in and out. As the music begins, let us enter into our service together.
I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive. May I be empty and open to receive the light. May I be empty and open to receive. May I be full and open to receive the light. May I be full and open to receive.
So much. Whoa. All right. You can hear me, right? Yeah, I bet you can. So before we light our chalices this morning, we have a special introduction to our ministerial intern who will be starting with us in the fall, Heike Eghard. And one announcement I want to make before Heike comes up is that we are still trying to find some folks to be on Heike's internship committee. And this is a committee that would be meeting to support Heike during her time with us. She'll be with us part-time for 2 years, and it's a 1 hour a month commitment. And would love if anybody thinks, gosh, I would like to support someone in their journey through ministry and ministerial learning. Please let me know, and I will let Heike introduce herself.
Thank you, Jason, and good morning. So, as Jason mentioned, I am super excited about being your ministerial intern here, starting in the fall. And a little bit about myself: I am currently a student at Meadville Lombard Theological School in Chicago. I am in the process of completing the requirements for the Masters of Divinity program, and the internship is part of that. So in order to graduate, I need to complete this internship. No pressure, right? A little bit about myself. My husband and I have called the greater Chicago area our home for over 2 decades now. We currently live in Evanston, but we used to live just a few blocks from here, so the commute would have been easier a few years ago. I am, as you may notice, I have a bit of an accent. I am a transplant from Germany, so I was born and raised in Germany, and but I've called the Chicago area home for over 2 decades, as I said. Other than that, I am very much looking forward to getting to know you all individually and collectively as a congregation, and I am very excited to be learning with you, from you, and serving as your intern for the next couple of years. Thank you.
So in just a moment, I will light our chalice here in the sanctuary, and Harris will light our chalice in the Admiral. And we light our chalices this morning with these words from Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh. When we practice in community, there are more people to support us, but also more opportunities for frustration and anger. Loving speech and deep listening are key to community building. So may these flames be a beacon for healthy and transparent communication as we strengthen and celebrate our community.
Please rise in body or spirit. and join me in singing hymn number 360, Here We Have Gathered.
Please continue to stand and join me in reciting our covenant. The words are on your screen. There they are. We covenant to build a community that challenges us to grow and empowers us to honor the truth within ourselves. We will be generous with our gifts and honest in our communication, holding faithful to a love that embraces most diversity and conflict. Called by our living tradition, we will nurture spirituality within a vision of the eternal, living out our inner convictions through struggles for justice and acts of compassion.
Please join me in singing number 123, Spirit of Life. Spirit of life, come unto me. Spring in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
So this is the time when I would invite our children to come forward. Today, we are absent some children, so we won't do so. But I do still need some people up here in just a moment. So who has ever played the game telephone? Basically everybody. Great. So you'll be really happy to volunteer to come forward. I would love if, let's say, about 8 people, you can just pop up and come make a little circle right here for me. A little 8-person circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One more. You know you want to join? Oh, a line is just as good as a circle. A line works great. A line works great. Honestly, truly, truly. Okay. So when you play the game telephone, you start with a saying or some words that we tell one person. And so the rules that we're going to play with is I'm going to tell Christina some words, and then you can't ask me to repeat. You just got to listen to what I say and pass it on to the next person. And they can't repeat. If you realize, I don't know what they said, either 1, you should have listened harder, or 2, you're just going to have to make up something new to say to the person next to you. So that's how we're going to play this game. And then we'll talk about it after. Everyone's being so patient. I won't talk too much because I might not be able to hear. Excellent. What you can't see is the faces people are making. It's really great. All right, Kristen. Kristen, loudly for everybody.
Living and learning your values takes ultimate trust.
That's really lovely. That is not what I said. What I did say was living into our Unitarian Universalist values takes work and dedication. And so it is close, right? And this is one of the things that happens in communication. You get close to what you're understanding, but it's not exactly right. And that can create chaos. This wasn't particularly chaotic. This was lovely and fun. But there are times when communication and specificity is really, really important. And there are times when we can get the gist of something and isn't that great. And so we're reflecting a lot today on communication, and I really thank you all for coming forward for our Time for All Ages. And so each year, we all make a commitment, a pledge to support the ministry of this, our congregation. And in addition to this contribution that we make each year, we also take a collection every Sunday so that we can share with those who are doing justice work well beyond our walls. While we are not passing the plate right now, you can make your contribution by using the text to give, and the information is in your order of service, and it will shortly be on the screen. For the month of July, we are sharing our plate with the Chicago Furniture Bank. And this morning, we have some words from Kevin Murphy. Kevin.
Can everybody hear me? All right. Thank you for having me this morning. This is a beautiful, beautiful faith-driven community, and so I already feel extremely welcome here. So thanks again. I'm with Chicago Furniture Bank. This year we'll furnish 5,000 homes for free for people leaving homelessness, poverty, domestic violence, and other catastrophic situations in our communities. So oftentimes when these people are leaving homelessness, they're put in temporary shelter, temporary apartments, and they're sleeping on the floor because these apartments don't have any furnishing. So you can imagine what a undignified, kind of terrible situation that is. And so when they're set up with this caseworker now, they have the opportunity to come into our 10,000 square foot showroom with their whole family, and they pick out everything that they'll need, from a couch to a dresser to love seats and artwork and children's toys. And then we hire about 60 people from our community in Brighton Park to then sort through and deliver the furniture that they picked out in the showroom. So when they go to their new apartment, all of the things that they had in their shopping experience are there in their home. So it's really rebuilding a lot of trust for these folks, in the institutions that have wronged them. And you'd be surprised how many people come in there and, don't believe that we're actually going to deliver it and stage it in their home. So, that dignity, that selection, and that choice is really critical in how we rebuild the lives of these members of our community. And so, another thing that we do is we're big on kind of, allowing people to get a second chance. And so I can think of a story of, a person, Henry, who was in our showroom about 2 weeks ago, and he had been in prison for about 25 years, mostly through a string of parole violations, right? Not anything that was, indicative of his status in our community. And so then once he got out, he spent about 2 years living in homelessness, and then about a year living in a transitional apartment, sleeping on the floor. And so when he came into our showroom, he picked out, an entire home's worth of furniture, and in a day, his, space transformed from an empty apartment to a home. And in a day, his expectations went from nothing for himself to a new beginning. So I think that's kind of a personal example of the work we're able to do to show people, in the interest of where we're at, the Creator's love and their dignity in our society. And so we're really appreciative of you all supporting us, because I think that we all recognize that everyone's worthy of the comfort and stability of a home and, items that they can be proud of. So thank you to Jason, Barb, and the team, because it really moves me to tears that people such as yourself are out here, and that, that you would think of supporting us and our families. So thank you again.
Thank you, Kevin. Now, I invite you to join me in reading our offertory words. The words are printed in your order of service and are on the screen. This church is the community of ourselves. Its energy and resources are our energy and resources. Its wealth is what we share. As we contribute to the life of this community, we affirm it and enable its participation in the larger world around us. The offering will now be generously given and gratefully received.
I invite you now, wherever it is that you are, at the Admiral, here in the loft, maybe you're in your home, and invite you to join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Let's begin by breathing together. Try relaxing the muscles in your shoulders. Release the tension that gets built up in your neck. Unclench your jaw. And just breathe into this time and space. We begin in thanks. Thankful for the breath in our lungs, the beauty of our earth, and the strength of this, our beloved community. We hold in our hearts those who care for family in ill health, those who live with grief or chronic pain, those struggling with addiction or illness, seen and unseen. We are with you. For parents and teachers and all those whose primary spiritual practice is caring for children, we are with you. We pray for our neighbors in prison, for those who are struggling to stay afloat in the midst of poverty. We are with you. As gun violence takes on so much and takes too many lives, we pray for all those living in harm's way. We pray for our planet and commit to work that will lead us away from the harms of climate chaos. As war rages, we pray that wisdom, compassion, and empathy guide the leaders of our world. May they and we be instruments of a just and lasting peace. Our lives are truly blessed by those who knowingly, with curiosity and courage, face their final days. Now into this, our shared silence across space, I invite you to speak the name of anyone you wish to lift up into the loving support of our community. With our deepest compassion, let us hold in our hearts those named and unnamed, those remembered and those forgotten. Let it be so. Amen, and blessed be. During our ritual of lighting candles of joys and concerns, we want to continue to maintain our safety with each other. In the 2U loft, you're invited to come forward and light a candle. And as you end the time of contemplation and candle lighting, we invite you to use the hand sanitizer that's available. For those of us at the Admiral, I invite you to come forward and take a pebble from one bowl, hold it tightly, putting your energy into the stone, and then knowing your joy or sorrow to be held by this community, let it go lightly into the other bowl. For those of us on Zoom, please join by sharing your joys and concerns in our chat window, and I will light a candle here to represent your celebrations and sorrows. You may come forward. Behold, all of these share joys and celebrations, concerns and sorrows close to our hearts. Mary Helen, would you share our first reading, please?
Our first reading this morning is written by Unitarian Universalist minister Reverend Karen Johnston. Wise ones say, we can be good, good enough, and imperfect all at the same time. Wise ones say that we can listen to understand, not necessarily agree, and be moved by a truth that does not make sense to our lived experience, and let it change our world. They tell us also to raise up those who are trodden upon, to cultivate humility when the world would rather we grow certitude in our hearts. Wise ones remind us we can recognize that those who do harm did not always intend to, and that it is still ours to reckon with the impact. They tell us that we can say, I don't know, and I'm not sure, and still be warrior, still be whole, still be leader. In fact, the kind of leader we long for. Wise ones tell us to pay attention to not just the what, but also the how. May this be the meditation of our hearts. May this be the words of our mouths, not just the what, but also the how. May we be the wise ones today and every day.
Thank you, Mary Helen. Our second reading is a poem from Mary Oliver entitled Fox. You don't ever know where a sentence will take you, depending on its roll and fold. I was walking over the dunes when I saw the red fox asleep under the green branches of the pine. It flared up in the sweet order of its being. The tail was over the muzzle, lifting in airy amazement. And the fire of the eyes followed, and the pricked ears, and the thin barrel body, and the four athletic legs, and the black stockings that it had. It came to me how the polish of the world changes. I was hot, I was cold, I was almost dead of delight. Of course, the mind keeps cool in its hidden palace. Yes, the mind takes a long time. It is otherwise occupied by happiness and deep breathing. Still, at last, it comes to, running like a wild thing, to be taken with its twin sister, breath. So I stood on the pale peach-colored sand, watching the fox as it opened like a flower, and I began, softly, to pick among the vast assortment of words, that it should run again and again across the page, that you, again and again, should shiver with praise. Let's hear our anthem.
I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. My hands are wide open, eyes are wide open to see Spirit, speak to me. I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. My hands are wide open, eyes are wide open to see what I may be. I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. I'm listening. I'm listening. Spirit, speak to me. I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. My hands are wide open, eyes are wide open to see what I may be. I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me. I'm listening. I am listening. Spirit, speak to me.
What a gift to have a family affair of music. Such a joy. How do you like to be communicated with? What kind of communicator are you? While these two things are related, they're not always the same. It's also true that the ways we like to communicate with our best friend, partner, coworker, boss, elected official, and others, they can all be different from one another. We may enjoy direct and honest communication, maybe even some radical honesty from some people, likely people we trust a lot. But others, some of that radical honesty can be a bit hard to hear. What works best for you might not be what works best for the other person or people you're in communication with. It's this kind of mismatch of communication styles that we often end up finding ourselves hurting one another. Even in the best of situations, communication can be quite difficult. Even when we have decades of trust, it might be hard to bring up certain things that are weighing on our hearts. If we only just got to know someone, we might find ourselves putting up walls to protect ourselves from harmful communication. Other times, though, we might discover that it's easier, and you get to kind of try out direct communication with this new person because there's less history. There's less baggage, and potentially a feeling of less risk. They don't know you. try it out. The relationship is new, so it might be easier to set boundaries and stop harmful patterns from getting started, rather than trying to communicate and break maybe generations of miscommunication, something we often have to do in our families of origin. I'll tell you, it's tricky to write a sermon about communication because there are so many, many different things that we could discuss together. So know that today is not the final word I have to offer about communication, and that really we're always engaging in communication as a community. Sermons are designed to be the minister's communication with the congregation about the ways we live in this beautiful yet broken world we love. I feel incredibly blessed, humbled, and responsible for the trust that you put in me to get up here and share things with you. Because our faith truly is only as strong as our communication is. And the tradition that relies so much on words, healthy, compassionate, thoughtful, and direct communication becomes vital for our theology. Yes, we need ritual, and yes, we need our words to be clear. So rather than share a list of communication tools, I'm going to trust that you have the ability to grab one of the literally thousands of books that are out there dealing with communication. Just for the fun of it, I'll share a few titles of books with you that I've either heard good things about or maybe I've read some of or all of occasionally. One, Crucial Conversations, Tools for Talking When Stakes Are High by Carrie Peterson. Anyone read that one? No. Simply Said, Communicating Better at Work and Beyond by Kay Sullivan. Anyone read that one? We're bad communicators. Digital Body Language, How to Build Trust and Connection No Matter the Distance. Our Zoom folks, I think about you in particular, is we need to do better at communicating and showing love to our Zoom membership. Okay, well, how about Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg? A few people have read that one. All right. So let me know if it'd be helpful to share those titles again sometime or just share with you some other resources about communication. But instead of doing an overview of good communication processes, I want to share with you a couple of stories of when I failed at communicating effectively and what I learned from that. And I tell you, I need your grace, because talking to you about things that I did that were wrong, not easy to do. So I appreciate, as we communicate, and I communicate with you, your gentleness as we move forward. Failures are often the greatest teachers. Not only am I trying not to experience judgment from you, we need to not judge ourselves for failures. Instead, we can practice self-compassion and remember that we get to try again next time. It's easy to get stuck in shame and guilt and blame, and let's try instead to practice something different together. I recently saw a meme on Instagram that showed a person just kind of shaking their head, their hands, face in their hands, and it says, "Me reflecting on a recent social situation. Not my best work." And we've all been there. We have all communicated poorly. We've all wished we could rewind time and get a redo. And unfortunately, that's not how life works. But again, we get to keep trying and hope for next time to be better. Part of the function of church, part of what we're doing together, is creating space where we know we're going to make mistakes, and we trust one another to try harder next time. I also think that we might find ourselves somewhat similar to Mary Oliver's fox, taking some time to rest, cover our faces a little before going out and trying again. So many of you know that I used to be the national director of Black and Pink, a nationally networked grassroots organization working to meet the immediate needs of LGBTQ and HIV-positive prisoners while simultaneously working to abolish the prison industrial complex. I am quite proud of the work that I did at Black and Pink. I founded the organization after my own time in prison and wanted to do something that would help end some of the immense violence that I encountered. This organization started in my kitchen and friends responding to prisoner letters. The basis of the organization was healthy, good, direct communication. Over the years, more and more people got involved and the organization grew. I was eventually able to leave my previous church and dedicate myself full-time to the work of Black and Pink. It was exciting and powerful to watch the organization grow from a couple of dozen people to over 10,000 prisoners with representation from nearly every state in the country. As we grew in membership, we also grew, thankfully, in revenue. We got to a place where we were able to pay me a small salary and even hire somebody else to be the national office manager. I was thrilled that we were growing and excited about the possibilities that this would create for our little organization. The first person we hired beyond myself was a formerly incarcerated man named Kahari. We had made the decision as an organization that we would only hire formerly incarcerated people. And given that you can discriminate based on history of incarceration, we discriminated in the affirmative. It was a visionary idea to only hire formerly incarcerated people, and one that comes with lots of complications. I believe deeply in this kind of Black radical tradition idea that those who are closest to the problem are also those who are closest to the solution. That does not mean, however, that everyone has the capacity and skills to work in leadership within a nonprofit system. Those things don't equal each other. I loved working with Kahari, but he took advantage of the organization. After a few months of Kahari working at Black and Pink, I discovered that he had been stealing money from the organization. I was heartbroken. I put lots of trust in him and believed that he was looking out for the best interest of the organization. Action needed to be taken. As an abolitionist organization, we had to distinguish between punishment and consequences. We did not want to punish or shame Kahari, and we could not have him continue to harm the organization. With the support of the leadership circle, I fired Kahari. It was painful, but also necessary. We decided that he could continue to be connected to the organization, but that he could no longer be on staff and would certainly no longer have access to organizational assets. The next big question, though, was what do we say, and to who? To whom were we accountable, and what needed to be shared? The leadership circle decided that we wanted Kahari to write a letter to the prisoner membership of the organization. We had a monthly magazine of prisoner-generated content that was distributed to our entire membership, both inside and out. Kahari did take ownership for his actions, and he wrote a moving letter accepting responsibility and apologizing for the impact he had on the organization. Beautiful communication. But that's where the communication stopped. We prioritized prisoners because we saw ourselves as accountable to them. That wasn't sufficient. There was another group of people who deserved to be communicated with, and that was our donors, our funders. When I look back on the situation that I was part of and the decisions that we made, I know why we chose to communicate in the way that we did. This is about a decade ago now. At the heart of it was fear. We were afraid that if we shared with our donors that we experienced theft of resources, that we would not see financial support again. We feared that if we were honest about the theft we experienced, that our donors would abandon us. That was unfair. Donors deserve to know the truth. We were new as an organization and trying to do what was best, and we failed to fully live into our values and communicate with everybody who deserved to be communicated with. We allowed fear to prevent us from the communication that people were entitled to. We allowed our anxieties to dictate our decision-making process rather than accountability to our wider organization. Black and Pink describes itself as an open family, and we allowed the worst parts of family dysfunction to rear its head in our organization. There was a desire for protection of Kahari, as well as protection of the organization, but not communicating wasn't the right solution. Given the chance to rewind time and do it again, I would communicate differently. Indeed, it was not my best work. The story would not be complete if I did not share with you that Kahari died a year after being fired from Black and Pink. I hold deep regret that we could not help him feel loved or cared for and part of our community and to value his life. I still wonder what we could have done differently. There are obvious things about checks and balances that should have been implemented when Kahari started working. For any organization, trust cannot be a substitute for clear lines of accountability and transparency. And I hope that this is a lesson I've learned enough. And yet, at our own congregation, there's still work to be done to increase transparency and ensure finances are clear to everyone. We've made some important strides this year, especially with Christy's leadership and Curtis's leadership and Rama's leadership, and there is still work to be done. Whew, that was a hard story to share with you all, but I'm grateful to you for listening. Unitarian Universalist minister Reverend C.B. Beale offers us the following. Care and trust is built when people bear witness to themselves and one another. When we bear witness to people, we must consistently notice and set aside our thoughts and assumptions, the things that don't make sense to us because we do not yet have the whole picture. We must recognize when what we are bearing witness to is different from our own experiences. We must take care not to dismiss it. It is this care and trust that Reverend CB talks about that we're building right now, all the time. And I appreciate you challenging your own assumptions and bearing witness to my failings with compassion. And so I want to share a shorter story with you as we come to a close. This one involves my dearest friend, Megan. A few years ago now, we went on a road trip together. We drove through the Badlands of South Dakota, incredibly beautiful, and got ourselves out to Wyoming, where we went camping for nearly a week together. We were in one another's space a lot. We shared a car, shared a tent, shared meals, shared hiking time. Nearly all our waking moments were together. And we love each other very much. We've been friends since we were 17 years old. And yet, all this time together, it proved to be a bit much. We started getting on one another's nerves. When we ended up in Colorado together, Megan and I were barely talking. I can't tell you what exactly was going on. Maybe one of us didn't do the dishes. Maybe one of us said something that was a little too irritating. We were clearly upset with one another, but not talking about it. It came to a head when we started the drive home. I wanted to drive. She wanted to drive. We were outside the car, glaring at each other. It was an impasse, but finally Megan, because she is my communication lead guide, she said to me that she would be even more annoyed and angry than she already was if she was forced to sit in the passenger seat. So she broke our negative silence, and she made a clear request. While I wanted to drive as well, I appreciated that she was honest that if I don't drive, this is going to get worse. And is that a threat? It's a little unclear. I would like to think, though, that that was modeling clear communication. As the ride continued, we did start to talk about our tension. We didn't get far, but after returning home, we did find later time to talk. That original experience, again, not the best work, but later, we each chose some honesty. Each of us chose to apologize. Each of us bore witness to the other. It was messy, it was imperfect, but we got through it. We have over 2 decades of relationship that connect us to one another. We've had hard moments since then. But the hard moments always get better when we do choose to communicate directly, not just sit and allow it to fester. I wonder if you have someone like this in your life. A friend, a family member, a partner, a person you share your life with whom conflict comes up, and then when you do choose to be honest, it gets better. Beloveds, we do need to address systemic issues of communication in our own church. We got to work on it all the time, and we can do that work together. We need to increase transparency in addition to growing our trust with one another. We say we embrace conflict. It's an inevitable part of being in relationship together. It is my prayer that we can each learn from our own communication mistakes and apply that learning to our shared ministry. Because as I have my own mistakes, you have your own mistakes. I promise to keep learning from my failings and share with you what I learn and incorporate those learnings into my leadership. I look forward to hearing you share about yours, because we all have situations where we just didn't do our best work. So let's do our best to fail forward. Let it be so, and amen.
Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing hymn number 1028, actually, in the Teal hymnal, Fire of Commitment. From the light of days remembered burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment
can hear these simple yet essential words from James Baldwin. Communication is a two-way street. Really, it's about listening to one another. May we all practice listening and sharing, even when it's risky to do so. Go in peace, beloveds.